Anyone else think our sport's kind of dying? Anyways, hello guys, it's 1099 here and welcome to today's video where today we're going to go through my tips and predictions for round 10 of the 2026 NRL season. Last week, we started off brilliantly, but Sunday kind of let us down. We were 6 for 8 last week, hopefully aiming to go a bit better. But so, yeah, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Starting off on Thursday night, we have the Dolphins taking on the Canterbury Bulldogs. Now, the Dolphins are coming off their win over the Melbourne Storm last week in a close game, whilst the Canterbury Bulldogs are coming off a loss to the North Queensland Cowboys. Obviously, this comes after Daniel Saifidi was put into medical retirement for his shoulder, and I just think, what a great career. Obviously, being a Knights fan where he was at 80% of his career, he was very probably much one of the most underrated forwards in the competition. Absolutely stepped up when he was called upon for State of Origin for the Blues, and hopefully he enjoys his retirement. That being said, it'll be quite an interesting game to see what does happen. In terms of out, you got Kurt Donahue out for the Dolphins and Jake Turbin and Kurt Mann out for the Dogs. The Dogs are in a really weird stage at the moment of their season, but obviously both teams, one's 11th, one's 12th, obviously wanting to try to sort of creep back into top 8 positioning. In terms of who I think will win, I'm going to go with the Dolphins. I know there's a couple of magnifying glasses staring into the Bulldogs at the moment, especially with the recruitment of Adam O'Brien as the attacking coach, because who would have thought at hiring the coach that was the head of the worst attack from the previous season would not result in good attack. It baffles me. But yeah, I think the Dolphins should be able to get this one. But I do think this could be quite close. Now we go into the Friday games where at 6 p.m. we go to the Central Coast as we have the Sydney Roosters taking on the Gold Coast Titans. The Gold Coast Titans are coming off a home loss to the Canberra Raiders, whilst the Sydney Roosters are coming off almost blowing a complete second half over the Brisbane Broncos. But I guess lucky for them, reports mean nothing. But in seriousness, it was a good first half performance by the Roosters, but they have been a bit complacent in terms of not being able to play two halves of football. We kind of saw it a couple of weeks ago with the Knights. Obviously, they did come back and win, and we saw it last week where the Roosters started faltering in the second half, but they eventually got momentum on their side and continued going. But yeah, I think the Titans probably aren't going to be the team that's going to put in that much of a challenge, and I think in Gosford, I think the Roosters should win this pretty handily. Unless they try to do some silly buggers and try to let the Titans have a whisper of hope. Now we go into the 8 p.m. game on the Friday as we have the North Queensland Cowboys taking on the Parramatta Eels. The Cowboys are coming off an away win over the Bulldogs, whilst the Parramatta Eels are coming off a home loss to the New Zealand Warriors. Cowboys have been looking quite good. It's been pretty good to see, and I know there was the thinking about getting their form going in that, but I think they've done pretty well over the last couple of weeks ever since their win over the Storm. They've really got form. Parramatta looking a bit lost at the moment. It's a big question to see what's going on here, but I do think they still have the capacity to improve. In terms of out, only Jeremiah Nanai is out for the Cowboys, whilst the Parramatta Eels will be Riley Smith and Will Penasini. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe this is the game where Jason Taumalolo becomes the most appearances for the club in terms of one player, which is a fantastic achievement for him. Yeah, and in this match, I think it's going to be resulted in a win. I think the Cowboys are just going to barnstorm Parramatta because there's just nothing really that's going to point to this being an upset Parramatta win. But the problem is, though, with how the NRL is now, that means it will be. Now we go into the Saturday games where at 3 p.m. we have the St. George Illawarra Dragons taking on the Newcastle Knights. The Dragons are coming off the bye, whilst the Knights are coming off an 80 total point game as they just held on to win 42 points to 38 in a game that I was there in person, and in a game where I had to do the sign of the cross leaving the stadium and started burning sage to make sure any evil spirits didn't enter my house. Now, the Dragons obviously still looking for their first win of the season, whilst the Knights are looking to just, try to keep building some momentum, actually get couple of consecutive wins to get that through. Hayden Buchanan and Luciano Leilua are out for the Dragons. No outs currently for the Knights. Newcastle, don't you even fucking think about it. Listen, I know. People think, why am I worried about us playing the Dragons? It's because this is the type of situation where the Dragons get their first win of the year. And I swear to fucking whatever high power we have. Don't you even think about it. I do think the Knights will win this, but if they don't, don't even joke, lad. Now we go into the 5:30 matchup on the Saturday, and we have the South Sydney Rabbitohs taking on the Cronulla Sharks. The Rabbitohs are coming off, as previously mentioned in the last matchup, a high-scoring game where they almost came back and won against the Knights, whilst the Sharks are coming off putting 50 points on the West Tigers at home. Got to say, the Rabbitohs, that second half, they were really on Sunday. I mean, Latrell Mitchell easily stepped up to being the main player who was leading their comeback charge. That other than Liam Kennedy, but we don't get into that. This should be a really interesting game. Unfortunately, Jack Whiten's out because he did have he was being carried off with like his arm, so he's probably got something broken there. I don't know what the actual injury is, but currently no outs for the Sharks, but I feel like this is a match the Rabbitohs should get a result out of for them trying to bounce back from that loss to the Knights. But this is also a game that the Sharks need to win to really prove themselves, yeah, we actually can be a good team. Which is like, they definitely have the capacity to. It's just for some reason they just have these sort of games where they decide, yeah, we're not going to. But yeah, I'm going to say bit of a closer one, but I think Souths do get over the line. And now we go into the 7:35 match on the Saturday, as we have the Manly Sea Eagles taking on the Brisbane Broncos. Now, the Manly Sea Eagles are coming off a very close loss to the Penrith Panthers, whilst the Broncos are coming off their almost completed comeback in the second half, but ended up losing to the Sydney Roosters. But yeah, this has been pretty good. Manly finally getting their first loss. Not like I was hoping for it or anything, but it was just about Kieran Foran finally copying his first setback, but made it very close against what is surely the minor premiership favourites at this point in time. So I feel like there is some good positivity coming around Manly. Brisbane's still looking for some type of way to get themselves back into consistent form. The problem is, they're going to be out without Adam Reynolds, Dean Mariner, and Katoni Staggs. That's some pretty significant outs for them. So on the basis of that, I'm going to go with and say that I think Manly will actually get a bounce back and they'll get the win on Saturday. And now we go into the Sunday games, where at 2 PM we have the Melbourne Storm taking on the West Tigers. Now, the Melbourne Storm are coming off their late loss to the Dolphins, whilst the Tigers are coming off kind of getting a bit of a reality check with their demolishing by the Cronulla Sharks. This game I feel like is going to be very interesting to see because of the outs that the Tigers currently have. Adam Dewey, Samuel Afanu, and Stafford Toa, and also Valentino Tavana, all 4 out. But you've also got Tyne Richo and Joseph Pahulu out for the Storm. Be a very interesting game here, and I feel like this is a really good test to see what this Tigers 30 is made of, and basically saying if they can get a result against the Storm, who are depleted. Yes, the Storm aren't doing too well, but if they can get that result, it would be fair. And look how good our core is. And you know what? Probably not going to happen, but I'm predicting the Tigers win this. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, I just think be funny if it did. And now we go into the final game of this round at 4:05 PM. We have the Canberra Raiders taking on the Penrith Panthers. Now, the Raiders are coming off their kind of much needed win against the Gold Coast Titans away from home, whilst the Panthers were just able to get past the Manly Sea Eagles at home. This one's going to be quite interesting. I think Penrith haven't been the best the last couple of weeks because their last 2 games have been close. So I feel like it's kind of a due time of them either getting another statement result, or it's just going to eventually result in a defeat. The problem is, though, I'm not 100% sure if the Canberra Raiders are going to be the team that does it. I mean, they've got the players to probably string up something. Obviously, remember their game back in Mudgee last year. But I don't know. I just don't think I have the confidence to tip Canberra in this. So I'm going to say, in a very close game, maybe Golden Point, I don't know, I'm going to say that I think the Penrith Panthers just edge it out. And those are my tips for round 10. Who do you guys have this week? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all later.